Hello and welcome to the Primus Proposition Vodcast. Hear the lion roar. My name is Minty. I am the product team manager at Primus, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Nikki Hemmings, the GI Proposition Manager. Following on from our last podcast, where we had the great Matt Brown from ULS Technology, Primus Conveyancing, we are joined by some very special guests today. We just want to thank you for all of your feedback so far. And as always, if you have any feedback on what you would like to see in the podcast, please do not hesitate to email us on vodcast@primus.co.uk. This vodcast goes out to everyone in the network and also outside of the network. And if you're not a broker within Primus, where have you been all my life and when are you joining us? Because quite frankly, we are the best place to be. And if you would like more information, again, please email us on vodcast@primus.co.uk. So Nikki, what do you think? Are we ready to welcome in our guests?
Yeah, let's introduce the fantastic duo that we have now got.
We have got a great duo today. So we have got the James Bond of the protection industry, Paul Shepherd from Cirencester Friendly. And where would James Bond be without his Q, backing him up and giving him all the technology requirements he needs? Josh Padfield. Guys, hello.
Hi.
Minty. What an introduction, eh? I've never been.
Wow, what an act to follow.
I like that a lot.
Come on, you guys are the dynamic duo. Where would we be without you?
You're the first to refer us to us like that, but we'll take it, I suppose. Thank you very much.
Before we go into too much, let's go into a little bit about you guys. So who wants to go first? Tell me about who you are, what you do, and how you came to do what you're doing now, being James Bond and Q of Cirencester Friendly.
Shall I go first?
Everyone, yeah, you got to go first.
Yeah, so I think, I've been at Cirencester for, how long now? 15 years, more than 15 years. And I think the reason I probably came to Cirencester, and I'll share this with you a little bit later on, is my dad, when he was quite a young age, did have a stroke. So I saw the real value and benefit of income protection because he had that cover in place. So I saw firsthand really just how important it was. So I think that was my natural sort of path into the income protection arena. And I've really enjoyed my time in the income protection arena since then.
Yeah, wow. If you're ever going to be wanting to understand protection and make sure everyone else does, it's when you've had a personal experience like that. How about you, Josh?
Mine is not as heartwarming as that, unfortunately. I started in pensions and then moved across into insurance about 5 years ago. Worked for another friendly society and then came over to Cirencester Friendly, and I've been there nearly 2 years now. So yeah, not as heartwarming, like I say, but nonetheless, I really enjoy protection, and it's, as Paul said, it's got a very, very rare place in this world. So yeah, we're here to talk about that, hopefully.
No, we definitely do all enjoy protection. It's a necessary part of daily life. So, Cirencester Friendly is where you're both from. So I think it'd be really good to start there and just talk about who Cirencester are, what's your place in the market, and just a little bit of a background, I suppose, really, because you're one of those providers where people know of you, but you're kind of on the periphery. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You're not necessarily the cheapest provider that comes up on sourcing tables. So it's understanding a little bit about you guys, what you do, and where you're different and where you set yourself apart in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cirencester Friendly, we've been around for a long time, since 1890. So the good thing about dealing with us as well, Minty, is that we only do income protection. So we really do specialise in that area. And we've got areas of expertise in income protection, and we do specialise in insuring certain types of clients and other aspects as well. So, we are a mutual, we're a friendly society, so we're member owned. So, that's a good thing as well. A lot of clients like that idea.
So Paul, you mentioned that you're a mutual society. Can you just explain kind of what that is and what that actually means for our brokers and their clients?
Okay, so a mutual, that's a really good question, Nikki. So a mutual, we're owned by our members. So another good example of a mutual is, the co-op, that's another mutual. So we don't have any shareholders. And as a mutual, for those that do participate in our profits, they do get a return as well when they get to their selected retirement age. So being a mutual does have that really nice friendly feel about it. So, and we've got lots and lots of additional extra benefits as well. So when we've got surpluses, when all the overheads have been paid, the staff salaries and things like that, we also invest or reinvest the money in additional things that the members get as well. So there's lots of extra add-on things that they can get.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, so there's all the additional member benefits that come from being part of a mutual society that you wouldn't necessarily get from a profit organisation where they're paying shareholders. Okay, that makes sense. So like what sort of member benefits are there? Like, what sort of things do you offer your brokers' clients?
It's a good question, but I hope I can take this one. Yeah, I mean, member benefits, like you say, is key to the contract. It's great for giving back to the membership and continuously improving the contract as well, using the profits from the society to improve that. And that's not just going forward; that's retrospectively as well. Any member benefit we add is added to existing contracts too. So members who were with ourselves, let's say 30 years ago and still going strong, whilst they've had 0 back in the day, now they've got all the core 6 at the moment, and we're continuously trying to improve that. Any feedback we get from advisors, please feel free to let us know if there's a new hot member benefit that is worth looking into, and we try to improve whenever we can. I know we discuss it when we have our meetings, Minty.
Yeah.
You've heard from speaking to advisors, but in terms of some examples, Friendly Voice is probably the first one I mentioned, just because I don't know if you ever come across Red Arc before. Providers, so they're a great service, a great team over there, and a team of nurses that provide free, confidential and emotional support. That's available to all members of the society and their spouses. So it's a good offer in there, and then you can whilst they'll support you through those services, they can also do branch off services as well and refer clients on for things like physiotherapy, counselling support, second UK medical opinions. It's all covered for by the society, so they don't have to pay a penny. That's included in their contract as standard. So hopefully something is of value there. And something I mentioned before about the whole we'll add options to existing contracts. So the latest one was GP24. We added at the end of last year. So I think you've probably seen this with other providers as well. GP24, an app on your phone, speak to a GP 24 hours a day, get prescriptions and referrals off the back of that as well. So hopefully that's quite a good addition as well. We also have member rewards as well. So that's probably one of anyone who I've spoken to, advisors wise, who is listening to this and I've chatted to before will know what I'm about to say. But you've got discounts on various things such as gym memberships, holidays, insurance contracts, Nike, Apple, those types of big brands. But vehicle discounts are the big one. And again, I know they'll know exactly what I'm going to say, but the agreement is the Fiat dealership. So it's Fiat, Alfa Romeo and Jeep. So some nice brands there. I certainly would like to have a vehicle from there. And then in terms of the discounts vary per vehicle. But the Fiat vans, the core one. So if you've got if you buy a Fiat van through this service, you can get over 40% discount. So massive discount, especially if you've got any clients who are self-employed tradespeople, which might suit ourselves, which we'll talk about a little, hopefully at some point in the present, in this chat today. So you can get over 40% discount on a brand new van, which might be really important for someone who's maybe a self-employed tradesperson.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's fantastic. For me, guys, it's the income protection world is kind of quite new to me. And just kind of, I would be interested to know what kind of clients can you really help? Something that's quite close to my heart at the moment is obviously I work with, I'm the GI manager, so there's a massive decline in ASU products out there at the moment. Is that kind of a client base that you're kind of looking to be able to help as well?
Okay, Nikki, that's a really good point. I'll pick up on the ASU part if that's okay, and then Josh, he can talk about the types of clients we might be suitable for. Right. So the reason I wanted to pick up on this ASU part, Nikki, was because when I spoke about my dad earlier on, ASU contracts, generally speaking, are short-term payment contracts. So they pay for either, I think generally they're a year, aren't they? Or possibly 2 years. Yeah. So they do cover accident, sickness and unemployment. Now, clearly, they've got a place in the marketplace. But if you look at the example of my dad, whereby at the age of 46, he had a stroke, which meant that he couldn't ever work again. He did try and go back to work, but it was quite apparent from a very early stage that he wasn't going to be able to return to work. So that contract, his income protection contract, paid him out from the time that he had his stroke all the way through to his state retirement age, which for him was 65. Now, an ASU contracts, they've got their place, as I was saying. Clearly, they're quite cheap compared to long-term income protection because they only pay for a short period of time. So that would have been of some benefit to Dad for maybe a year or two. But beyond that, I think, people have really got to start and think long-term about protecting all the way through to retirement. So, that's sort of my take on AS and ASU. And I think as well, with the situation that we've just all been through, this pandemic, I think the unemployment side of things is going to be certainly quite hard to come by at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think all of that is absolutely fantastic point, and to get a product like income protection out to our brokers and their clients is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really good point. I mean, so Josh, what kind of clients are Cirencester sort of like key demographic? Do you have a key demographic, or are you for everyone? Just what sort of is your niche market?
Yes, certainly. I mean, we are for everyone. We can cover pretty much anyone. So certainly, but we certainly do have a target market. Of course, most providers have a certain area. Ours is sort of for more riskier clients, I would say. There's a few areas which we can help in that sense. But the main one I'll touch upon is occupation. So, we don't load for occupation. So whether you're an office worker like myself, I'd say working in an office, but I mean, you can't tell my background, but I'm currently in a spare bedroom, as I'm sure you all are working from home as well. But whether you are an office worker, sorry to get back to the point, or you're a tree surgeon, let's say working at 100 feet high, the premium is going to be the same. So, there's the benefit of that. If you've got a client with a class 3 or class 4 occupation, we're going to really be able to help. Especially if they're looking at a level premium as well. That's really where we come out competitively. So those types of clients, especially around occupation, we can help.
Bro, and so for like self-employed as well, so someone that, like you say, like a tree surgeon working at 100 feet, they're self-employed, you'd still be able to help them with some income protection. That wouldn't throw up a big red flag and kill the policy. No,
definitely. I think self-employed takes up the large proportion of our membership base, to be fair, because dealing with those types of clients, those riskier clients, a lot of those jobs are, self-employed tradespeople, those types of people. So, they are self-employed, and so that's what we work with. And we pay our benefit fortnightly to kind of replicate that, because usually what you find with those self-employed workers that they get paid sort of week on week. So to try and replicate that rather than have a monthly benefit, do it fortnightly, and then it sort of is a bit more in line with what they're usually receiving.
I mean, that's great about the self-employed people, especially with someone like a tree surgeon, like you say, that's working at a height, and it's not going to affect your ability to give them cover. But I mean, obviously we have a lot of riskier occupations out there. So like, police officers, for example, I mean, can you cover most occupations? Is there any occupation you won't cover?
It's a very good point. I mean, police officers is a great example because they're really hard to cover. But with ourselves, we cover police officers, we cover offshore workers, working on oil rigs. We cover, HGV drivers, surprisingly quite hard to cover from what I've found. Those are the types of high risk. We cover more occupations than not, I would say. And there are obviously going to be some niche ones we don't cover. I think off the top of my head, it's professional sports people. And then it kind of ties in with our approach to hobbies. But also things like deep sea divers, commercial divers, quite a niche one, and stunt people as well.
Wow.
Well, we don't cover, unfortunately, it's too dangerous for us. But we have
that one.
We have quite a high threshold for risk in terms of occupation.
I mean, it certainly sounds like it. I mean, I know from the product desk point of view, so obviously I run the product desk at Primus, and we do get a lot of weird and wonderful queries from brokers I've got a client that loves going mountain biking up hills, they have a speedboat license, and sometimes they fly helicopters. So obviously occupation wise, that's great. You covered them maybe because they could be an office worker doing one of these things, but do you have any loadings for hobbies? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's a really good question, Minty, actually. So we've become really, really well known for covering hazardous sports and hobbies. So there's actually not a single hazardous hobby that we won't consider covering. And to believe you me, we've been challenged on this over the years. You've got advisors on the end of the phone saying, well, Paul, I've got a client who does mixed martial arts. I've got a client who does rock climbing. And they're almost trying to find a hobby that we won't cover, but we literally will cover them all. Now, there is a criteria that we look at, and that's based on earnings and based on accidents they've had, because clearly we don't want to be covering people who've had lots of accidents, the ones who aren't quite so good at the hobbies. So as long as they've not had 2 or more accidents in the last 3 years whilst doing their sport, and as long as they don't get paid more than 5% of their overall earnings, or £1,500 a year, those are the figures that we look at, then absolutely fine, we can cover them. So there are no exceptions to that. So there are no hobbies that we won't consider covering.
Wow, my helicopter pilot is sorted.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So obviously, Josh, you did touch on the fact that you don't play them, you pay them. Go back to that again after excellent wow.
Don't worry.
So Josh, you mentioned obviously that you pay out your claims on a fortnightly basis. the sole purpose for anybody to buy insurance is because they want to know that they're going to be able to claim on it if and when they need to. Have you got any stats or facts that you can share on your claims with us at all?
So yeah, I mean, from a claims point of view, I mean, the most relevant stat was our last year's claim statistics. We paid 94% of claims for the year. You know, it was a really tough year for the industry providers. You know, with everything going on with COVID, you know, obviously it's a really tough time for the public as well. And that's, you know, proved over the years, because over the last 10 years, we paid over 94% on average as well. So clearly we pay our claims. It kind of ties into what I was saying earlier around sort of where I worked previously. I've worked for another friendly society, and both have that almost that how can we help during a claim? How can we pay? Because that's what we want to do. We run for the benefit of our members. You know, we're nothing without them. So we need to be there when they need us most. And it's a bit of a weird description, but I kind of describe friendly societies having like a bit of a grey area with claims, whereas usually it's black and white. You either are, you are not covered for and claim, whereas friendly societies will try to help where they can. And so, yeah, that's you know, no better example than that, and the fact that we paid 94% of a year. And of course, you know, we haven't paid 100%. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of that's out of our hands. We underwrite at the start of the contract, so clients know what they are and are not covered for. But that doesn't mean we don't get claims for things which they're, you know, not covered for, or they haven't actually lost any earnings, or non-disclosures are clearly a thing that are part of insurance, unfortunately. And you know, proof of earnings aren't supplied either. So, you know, they've not completed the claims process, so unfortunately they have to all be factored into the claims percentage. But you know, we like to think we can help. We mentioned COVID before as well. Actually, last year, COVID took up the third highest portion of claim reasoning behind accidents and, you know, muscular issues, you know, back pains, those types of things. So clearly COVID was a high percentage, and it was 15.5%. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So 15.5% of all our claims last year were COVID related. So clearly we can help in that scenario as well.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So in terms of, and COVID's been an interesting one to deal with. So that picture, as everyone knows, has been evolving almost weekly. You know, day by day, what's the difference? What's the latest news? And we've had a COVID team that meet every week to discuss the latest news and how it affects our stance on COVID, because we've had an exclusion in place since March 2020, and that's evolved. You know, we removed some deferred periods, we brought them back, a lot of them back now. So gradually, as things have got better, you know, touch wood, they are getting better with the whole pandemic picture. We've done that, and we've tried to sort of, you know, listen to what the public is saying, you know, what the news is, and do not only make a decision that's, you know, safe for our existing membership, but, you know, fair to new members as well. And that's all boiled down to now that going forward, the only exclusion we've got on the contract for COVID is on our 1 week deferred period. And we had larger deferred periods which had the exclusion before. They've now been removed and retrospectively removed as well. So, you know, we've truly tried to be fair to members. But clearly, you know, we've listened on the COVID side, and hopefully, you know, that will eventually be removed itself. The exclusion is reviewable, as we've done previously. So, you know, hopefully we can remove that one day.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing, you know, it's good to talk about some of the things to do with COVID, because it's like you say, it's been a massive part of our lives for the last 15, 16 months now. You know, nobody could have predicted what we've gone through, and you know, it was a very, very changeable market for protection, for mortgages, for general insurance, the whole board. You know, and that's one of the things that I did really want to talk about as well, because, you know, we've talked a lot about Cirencester, and we've learned a huge amount about you guys and what you do. But I'd be really interested to know what your views are on the post-COVID arena, and do you think this is going to have any long-standing effects on the protection market? You know, is there anything you think we're yet to see happening, or, you know, do you think it will go back to business as usual?
So we've learned an awful lot about COVID over the last sort of 12, 15 months. You know, we've never seen anything like it before. As Josh has mentioned, we've learned a great deal. We did initially have to pull back on our shorter deferred periods. I mean, we're very well known for offering day one cover. That was withdrawn immediately, and still hasn't yet been reintroduced. But we did also have to withdraw on our 1 week and 4 week deferred contract as well. But as we've learned, we've looked at the government guidance and roadmap, etc. We have reintroduced those deferred periods now and removed those exclusions retrospectively as well. So we've learned an awful lot from, you know, what's happened with COVID. Of course, we've always had to have our members in mind when we've you know, withdrawn deferred periods, because we are member owned. So we mentioned that at the very beginning, going back to our mutual status. So we have to protect the existing membership first and foremost. But yeah, looking ahead, looking forward, looking at, you know, what we're seeing at the moment, it's all looking quite positive. We're all having our vaccines now. I guess even you, Minty, might have had yours, being so young. Have you had yours yet?
I've just been called for it. I feel so lucky.
Just had the
Yeah,
call.
they finally reached my age bracket. I can't help being so successful so young.
Absolutely, but more and more of us now are getting the vaccine, and I think we're all feeling a bit more safe, a bit more secure, and it's been scientifically proven that we are better protected now. But I think longer term, looking ahead at, you know, COVID and what lessons we've learned from it, so I think a lot more people now are going to be more receptive to talking about insurance, because, you know, it's been indiscriminate, really. It's affected young lives and old lives alike. So I think it's raised awareness, certainly, of, you know, the need for protecting, because an awful lot of people out there haven't been adequately protected. So hopefully there's some good that has come out of it as well, although obviously a lot of bad.
And do you know what? I would agree wholeheartedly with that, because from a Primus point of view, we've seen a massive surge in protection sales. And a lot of it is coming from remortgages, where brokers are doing a proper job with their clients, as always. And clients actually fully see the need of it now. They understand, you know, if the worst should happen to me, I have nothing in place. How would I pay the mortgage if I was one of these poor people that got long COVID? I mean, look at Kate Garraway's husband in hospital for 12 months. You know, if they weren't in a privileged position, how would she be paying the mortgage, supporting those children? And that's why people are realizing these covers are, you know, they're critical. When you're taking on the biggest debt of your life with a mortgage, you need to protect yourself from the worst happening. And, you know, touch wood, we never have to claim, but we just paid that premium to be on the safe side. And that's the ideal scenario for everyone. So we've certainly seen, from a Primus point of view, and our stats are really showing in the MI, protection was always a strong part of our business, but it has just grown and grown because clients genuinely see the need more so than ever. They're not being sold to. They're saying, I need this, I want this, which is amazing to see, because a more educated client is going to be a more safe client. Basically, they're going to be a safe client because they're going to have all their bases covered, and that's great to see in the industry. I just want to say, from me and Nikki, that you guys have been absolutely fantastic today, because we've really covered some real meaty subjects here and gone into a lot of detail. I don't know, from your point of view, Nikki, if there's any other questions you've got for the guys.
I haven't got any questions, but for me, this recording, it's taught me so much about income protection that I didn't know. I didn't know, obviously, the ins and outs of Cirencester. So I think the audience that clicks on to this link is going to learn a lot. So yeah, massive thank you from me as well.
Definitely. And obviously the main excitement is, at some point we will all see each other on the road again. And as these vodcasts progress, you never know, 6 to 8 months time, we could be paying you a visit at your office to film one of these, because the vodcast will go on tour at some point. So, you know, we get to see, you know, MI5, I mean, Cirencester friendly, you know, as you do. But, yeah, guys, just a massive thank you from us. You know, been really great to have you on the show. And as always, to all our viewers, I just want to say a big thank you for watching. And if you have any notes or any queries, questions, or get tips and things that you would like to see covered in our next podcast, or if anything for the guys, please do email it in to vodcast@primus.co.uk. We'll make sure Paul and Josh get it. And you can always get in touch. They've got their numbers on the screens in their background. So please don't hesitate to jot that down and give them a call. Hear the lion roar.